Okay, great. Let's get started. Today we're going to talk about CPG best practices. My name is Mark Costa. I'm a platform specialist at GroundTruth. So I've been here for a little over 2 years and have really helped a variety of CPG brands with the GroundTruth Ads Manager platform. So really excited today to kind of walk you through what we see as best practices just from working through these clients, as well as just some other we also have a managed team. And just what we see as best practice overall. So let's get started here. So kind of just wanted to set, let's see, PowerPoint. There we go. So housekeeping. So just all participants are muted. A recording will be sent out to all attendees after the webinar. We do have a question submitter with a Q&A button, which will be addressed during the Q&A session at the end of the session here. And if there's any follow-up questions, just feel free to reach out to self-serve@groundtruth.com. And also, we meant to launch the poll. There is a poll at the end of this. If you don't mind filling out your feedback, that would be much appreciated. Okay, so great. So let's go through an agenda for today's call. So we're going to go through, and so it's going to take about 30 minutes to go through the content, and we'll leave about hopefully 15 or so for Q&A. So we're going to go over at a high level, what is CPG, just what are we seeing as best practices, key strategic tactics, from a ads manager setup standpoint. We'll go through an ads manager itself and set up a prompt campaign. And then we'll go over some, what to do really when a campaign ends with recap recording. And then finally, we'll open it up to some Q&A. So let's dive right into it. So what is CPG, right? So for us, CPG is defined as, in this industry, this shouldn't be, this shouldn't be like a surprise to anyone, but it's consumer. CPG stands for consumer packaged goods. So it's pretty much anything you can buy at a Walmart. I have a Gatorade logo here. I just watched The Last Dance with Michael Jordan. He was a big component of Gatorade when he was a player. So things like that. So think of that like the Gatorade, think of Pop-Tarts, so they really don't have a store, right, where they have their own store. They need to rely on a retailer such as a Walmart, a Home Depot, 7-Eleven for their product to be sold. So these CPGs are very dependent, right, on the retailers, because without the retailer, they can't sell their product. So for us, right, GroundTruth does a great job measuring store visitation, but at the end of the day, for these brands, we can get a store visit, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a sale for one of these products. So for us, we really want to drive as many visits as possible, because at the end of the day, the more visits we drive, right, the more sales for the CPG products. So going into that is really we want to understand how we can drive the most visits and really discuss, from a best tactic standpoint, what are the best practices from a campaign setup. So let's go over some key strategic tactics here. So firstly, the top performing tactics for driving visits and sales for CPG. So for us, we like to say there's three buckets: the store loyalist audience, the retail block, and any relevant behavioral, brand audiences as well. So let's take an example that Gatorade, right? So Gatorade is working with Walmart, right? We should really be targeting the first party audience of Walmart Supercenter on our platform, because that's, at the end of the day, that's the user that is going to be making a purchase at Walmart of Gatorade. So we really want to heavily prioritize that tactic. We also want to, if you're thinking of Gatorade as well, thinking about any relevant brand audiences, right? So a relevant brand audience for Gatorade could be someone that's going to Dick's Sporting Goods, or somebody that is a soccer behavior audience, soccer moms. The one that we have here is for Kraft Mac and Cheese, where they actually targeted late night diners, right, on our platform, and college students, because they realized that was a key segment of theirs. The other tactic that's really important here that we also love to use is retail block. So this is a real-time targeting tactic. So if, say for example, say this was a Whole Foods, right, over here in the red, right? It's a real-time, if someone was on an app that we partner with while they are on the retail block of that store, they can see an ad. So the important thing to note with this tactic is that scale is limited. So we really recommend this for, when you have over 100 plus stores or something like that, or 50 to 100 plus stores. You're welcome to use it, but again, for us, it's a tactic that we recommend, but we wouldn't put much of a budget towards it, because at the end of the day, it's really hard to get the impressions that your brand, your client may want. So on top of driving visits, what's important, we see what's important for other CPG brands is really building brand awareness. So we have two other tactics that we also try to use for that as well. So the first one is neighborhoods. So what this is think of it like, all right, we have a Walmart, and the Walmart location is that green area. We're noticing where people go after or before they visit the store, they're going a lot of these orange pockets, right? So we're only going to serve ads in those orange pockets because it's like a similar likewise audience. In the middle of coronavirus, we're actually seeing this perform really well from a CTR standpoint. It's a great tactic because now people are staying more at home, right? So you can reach those users when they're kind of at home and really prior to going to the store, and really see good results that way. Another way that we see some clients use for brand awareness is just proximity. So we have some clients that, we're trying to measure visits at 100, trying to get sales at 100 to 500 locations. They want to make sure that their message is being shown 5 miles, 10 miles, even on the state or zip code level around those store locations. So they really kind of work with their clients to understand really what they want to do from a proximity standpoint. And we're seeing this is just a great way to drive awareness. So it's kind of a combination of driving visits and driving awareness. The other best practice you kind of want to go over is just budget recommendation and creative. So we typically recommend $100 to $500 budget per month per store location. We just see the most adequate results with that threshold. That just ensures that there's enough impressions in market to make an impact. So like theoretically, if a product was being sold in 100 stores, the budget should be around $10,000 to $50,000 a month. Now, if you only had 10 stores or something like that, you can just kind of do the math and maybe be 1,000 to 5,000. That's just generally speaking. From a creative standpoint, and we have this over here in the right corner of the screen, but we just want to make sure that we include the retailer right within the creative banner, because that gives the user an emphasis on where they can actually buy this product and where you're trying to drive visits to. You can see in the bottom right over there, actually this is one of our clients. They said refuel at your local Walmart, and they said find us in the sports and outdoors. So we highly recommend that. We also have some of our clients who use our GroundTruth landing page template, which is proprietary to GroundTruth, where they have some buttons such as the direction button, which will populate automatically from our system to the closest location. In this case, they're measuring visits to Walmarts in the Dallas, Texas DMA. Then they're also added a button for Ibotta. So that's a lot of for CPG. There's a bunch of shopper marketing promotions and coupons, and they want to incorporate that as well. So that is definitely an option for when someone clicks on the banner to use our landing page as well. So next, we're going to go through just some campaign setup. So campaign setup in a sense of, let's see here. So we're going to go through just an example. I'm going to go back to the well here with Gatorade and Walmart. So I'll just say Gatorade wanted to drive sales at all Walmarts in the state of New York in July 2020. I actually looked it up, and it's about 91 total stores. And the creative is, they're going to use this mainly standard banners. They could use GIFs or whatnot. And the overall campaign budget is $30,000, which for me, I would say that makes sense because it fits in between the threshold of $100 to $500 per store location. So I'm kind of just going to walk through just how we would break out a $30,000 budget across the tactics that we kind of just laid out for you. So the Walmart loyalists, honestly, we typically see, we always recommend heavily funding this, the loyalists to the store where the CPG is being sold at. So in this case, I put 50% of the budget towards that. I think the CPM, you can put your minimum CPM, that's fine. The other one is a sports audience, which is, we can go through this in a little bit, an ads manager, but stuff like Dick's Sporting Goods, Nike, really putting 20% of the budget towards that, and overall $6,000. Again, you'll notice that 70% overall of our budget is coming towards audience-based targeting. So you kind of can split it up the way you want. A lot of our clients will go mix it back and forth a little bit with their clients saying, do they want to allocate more towards sport to the relevant audience versus the actual physical loyalist audience. But overall, I'd say 60 to 70% of the time, 67% is a good allocation to be around for audience targeting. Then for the other tactics that drive awareness, like neighborhoods and 10-mile proximity, I'd recommend having about 10% for each of those, which is, in this case would be about $3,000. And then also, one thing to note is I only have retail block at $1,500 here at 5%, just because with only 91 stores, it would likely have trouble pacing. What I'd also recommend doing is putting this on an ad group budget level where you can have the opportunity to shift your budgets in mid-campaign, because that will give you then move your dollars. If something's performing better than whatnot, you can always shift dollars. So let's hop into Ads Manager here and just go over what a campaign setup would look like really quickly, that setup that I just went over. Okay, so I'm going to hop into Ads Manager here. So I'm going to click into the Walmart loyalists. So we can see what we can set up here. So what this is a targeting by audience. I'm just going to have to let this refresh. Let's refresh this. One second. Okay, so this is a target by audience. And there's 3 audiences that I selected here. There's a Walmart brand, the Walmart Supercenter brand. So in our system, Walmart comes up as Walmart and Walmart Supercenter. So I'm going to target both of those. I'm also going to target the location group of the Walmart New York locations. This understands that we're actually able to reach in real time. Anyone, essentially, you can pick up the audience for the last. I built this yesterday, for example. That audience would start building today, and it would be the most recent 90 days eventually. So I want to use that audience, and you can see that here are the 91 locations that make up that Walmart New York audience. These are also the locations that we're going to want to measure visits to. So you can see in my setup over here, it's Walmart, Walmart Supercenter, Walmart New York. In this case, I had a New York filter, just because they wanted to do all of New York. If I wanted to do, say, a 10-mile radius or even a mile or something of radius around a location, you can actually add all the specific locations in here as a location filter and limit it to have on a radius level as well. You can do zip code and whatnot as also. So we're also measuring visits again to the Walmart, those 91 store locations. So that's one tactic. The next tactic, which I would highly recommend kind of working with your client to understand who they think is their main target consumer. And in this case, I just went with some sports audiences. Gatorade's a sport product, right? They want people to use it, after they exercise and whatnot. So what I went through, just some top audiences here that we have. So such as soccer moms is one, sportsmen, they're both behavioral audiences. And we have some brands in here such as Adidas, Nike, Dick's Sporting Goods, Modell's, which is a retailer in New York, I know, because I'm from New York. Then we also have just anyone that's going to a recreational facility, right? So this is more of a custom tailored to what the product speaks for, as opposed to just reaching anyone that's been to Walmart. So we kind of like giving this a good mix and just seeing how performance works. If one tactic is driving more visits than the other, we recommend kind of moving dollars, but we do realize this from experience that the loyal audiences tend to drive the highest visitation, and in turn will help drive the best sales. And then so for neighborhoods, what I would typically recommend is we typically will bucket just both the audiences that we just use for sports and the loyalist audiences into one neighborhoods. So again, you can break it out as like you want, but for us, just to save time, that's how we bucketed it out. So again, it's anyone that is going, likewise audiences, any device that is going to these types of stores or this type of people. and the behavioral audience type of user, we're going to try to see where else are they going where can we reach them in a geo targeting type of way. And this one is a targeting goal of neighborhoods. It should be a target by location, neighborhoods. So that's the way you can see it sends ads to people that show high visitation frequency to a particular store location. So that's what we want to do there. So moving on, we just have a 10-mile proximity. So one easy way to do this is to just get your location group and just you can do a targeting goal of on-premise targeting. You just click next. Next. And you can see that we have, you can search your location group, Walmart, New York, and you can add a 10-mile radius. So that's just and it's going to start serving 10 miles around the address location over here and any of these locations in your location group. The last one is the retail block targeting. So you would set it up in the same exact way. You would select in the targeting goal, you'd make sure to select on-premise targeting. And then just make sure that you're selecting the Walmart New York, and then it's at the retail block level. There's multiple levels here. We recommend the retail block level. You can see that the device, the daily reach is roughly around 2,400, which is pretty good. But again, with a $3,000, $1,500 budget, that may be tough to hit over a month, but you just kind of see how it paces. And then the last thing we have is just to ensure that there's adequate frequency, making sure that there's, when you're trying to have brand awareness, you want to make sure you're reaching the same user kind of as much as they can. So just having a little budget towards that. So just retargeting anyone that has seen an ad and those previous tactics, for just to provide some frequency exposure. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to our presentation here. And so now we've set up the campaign, and now it's the end of July. So now we're going to go over just some really cool reports that we have that a lot of our CPG clients are sharing. If it's an agency, they're sharing with their client. If it's a direct, they're actually going physically to the retailer and saying this is what we're seeing on that we're helping you garner results, because a lot of these CPGs, the smaller CPGs, struggle to get distribution. So anything that they could add from a value standpoint with the retailer is only gravy for them, and they really need that to ensure that they can continue to have that relationship and ensure that the shelves have their product on them. So the first one is just top performing store visit locations. So in my example, we had 91 locations. So when a campaign ends, we can actually break down, the visits by location. So, and CPG clients that are working with like a Whole Foods, a Walmart, they tend to, if they should have all the sales data available being sent to them on a daily basis on the store level in terms of sales. So this was like a previous campaign that ran on our platform. This is just the top 10 Walmarts that ran. And you can see that some had over 626 visits. We can break out, obviously, all those 91 visit store locations, but we tend to have our clients focus on the top 10. And then what they'll go back with is that they'll go back to their client and say, here are our top 10 stores. Maybe you can check in to see if there's a sales lift. And what they'll try to do is a lot of these CPG brands will take 4 weeks before the campaign started and 4 weeks during and 4 weeks after, and see if there was any lift and whatnot. So it's a really great way to say, hey, we drove this many visits to this store, check in and see how the store is doing from a sales lift standpoint. The next one, which is pretty cool as well, is just a store visit look back window. How quickly does a user visit a store location after being exposed to an ad? So in this case, majority of in the bottom graph below, majority of the visits were coming around 3 days after ad exposure, where they saw an ad 3 days prior and then visited the store location. So you can see we do have a couple after 1 hour, which means that they were likely being targeted with retail block targeting right before they entered the store, which is a great story to show. So this one just gives context, one, to the CPG brand, but also to in their relationship to the retailer, that, hey, people are, because of our ads, people are coming to your store to make purchases. And the last one that we like to focus on is just audience visitation overlap. So because anyone that we can provide this, anyone that has clicked on the ad and visited because they were exposed to an ad. So this could be, so the top performing brands could be added into targeting. So in this case, it looks like Dunham Sports on a visitation rate was a top performer when it came to visitation rate. So one opportunity to improve the campaign is maybe add in Dunham Sports, right? As a targeting tactic, as a targeting audience. The other one is just to provide some context to the retailer on, who's interested in who's clicking on their ads, right? So if someone's going to Acme, hamburgers, Citibank, they could theoretically either add that into targeting, they could add that into other outlets that they're using, whether that's Facebook, Google search, or anything like that as well. So this provides very good context, to retailers, to CPG. It just gives them a sense of who's their actual target consumer. They may think that they know somebody based on what they in the past, but this actually gives them insights saying people that are clicking on their ads, and they can then use these moving forward as just insights to go back to the retailer with, but also use in targeting as well. Those are the main three that we typically see really great success with when our CPG clients share, when they're really trying to understand how a campaign delivered, what was the performance of it, and really just have some key takeaways to provide to their clients. And that pretty much wraps up, my portion of this of the presentation here. Just one thing to note is we also have some really other cool beta products that are available. We have an incremental visits report, which is really unique. So what that one is, again, I didn't really want to highlight this because it's in the beta phase, but you still, if someone was visiting Whole Foods, you can theoretically see if we have that already blueprinted in our system, which for majority of these major brands we should. We could see how we can determine if that was a new visitor, if that person is a frequent visitor. A lot of cool opportunities there to say to also just have a value prop in the relationship. But I would say, the goal for CPG clients is really to drive as many visits as possible. We tend to see the best success when the visit number is as high as possible, and then that in turn affects sales the most. So really, when you're setting up these campaigns, the biggest takeaway I would say is, make sure that you're using our audiences and really try to drive up the visit number, because at the end of the day, we just seen from past experience, the best performing tactics are the ones, audiences are the best performing tactics, but at the end of the day, we want to drive visits because that in turn leads to sales. So I'll open it up to Q&A now, and we can just look at what's going on in the chat. And we can talk for about 15 to 20 minutes here. Okay, so the first question, how about neighborhoods targeting? Is that powerful with CPG? So it is, for us, it is powerful, especially on the store level, because if you only had, say, 10 stores, or like 5 stores, and you really want to make sure you're reaching, you want to be reaching people, the key to neighborhoods is like the birds, like a feather flock alike, right? So if I'm going to a store and I live in zip code 100591, there's other people that are likely in my neighborhood that are going to the same store. So that's the person that you can capitalize on. And again, I think in the middle of the coronavirus, this is also just a great opportunity to ensure, again, from a brand awareness standpoint, that you're reaching the right user and potential people that are going to be going to the store. From a store visitation standpoint, it may not be the best tactic, but again, I think it's a balance between brand awareness and store visitation. And I think, again, I only recommended about 10% of the budget going towards it. So again, we also see, you can also always recommend kind of optimizing campaigns while they're through. So if neighborhoods isn't performing well, you can always just optimize out of it. What types, okay, so then that's the one, Justin, and then what type of return does this advertising produce versus other digital marketing? So I wouldn't necessarily, that's a great question, and I wouldn't necessarily look at it like that. I would kind of look at it like, listen, at the end of the day, all the marketing kind of works hand in hand. The biggest value prop for us, though, especially for CPG, is that we're reaching first-party audiences that are going to these stores. So again, if you want to reach somebody that's going to Walmart, you may not be able to do that on a Facebook or like a Google, or because that's just search behavior intent, or it's a like. Ours is actually based on physical behavior, so you're reaching when you target the Walmart audience, you're reaching a Walmart user. So we do see some of our clients, try to also capitalize on that. So they'll implement like a Facebook pixel and try to target that audience. Once essentially they'll add a Facebook pixel to our creative, and then in turn capture anyone that was targeted on GroundTruth also on Facebook to be omni-channel. But again, I think we from a return standpoint, we have seen some clients that they've noted they've seen genuinely really great lift. We actually have a client currently in the market that's an ice cream brand that actually just saw one of their major retailers get sold out of the ice cream. So again, we try to just help our clients understand that really using audiences and reaching those Walmart, that soccer mom for Gatorade is really important, and really making sure that we have enough impressions in market to do that. So I hope that answered that question. But yeah, I think again, CPG is tough because you can say you're driving all the visits, but that may not equate to sales. But at the end of the day, if we can get the visit number as high as possible, we would expect a lift coming out of that, hopefully. Let's see if there's any more questions. I don't think there's any more questions after this. So I think there is a poll that is open right now. But again, if you guys have any questions, I can leave it open for about another minute. And if you don't mind taking and offering the poll, that would be greatly appreciated. And I think next steps coming out of this is just kind of reach out to your account executive or platform specialist, or even the self-serve help at groundtruth.com to understand how we can help. I feel like I was just from working with CPG over the last 2 years, the budgets tend to be a little more concrete, and a little more fluid. So there's definitely, you need to have a little more of an impact, I would say, in the CPG space, just because you need to have the impressions to ensure that you have the adequate scale. But we do see some great success with it, and we are pretty confident that our message can help really any CPG, and we're here to help. So I don't believe there's any more questions. So if you don't mind, completing this survey, that'd be really greatly appreciated. And have a great rest of the day.